and yet another example of Yu-Gi-Oh at its best. Hey everybody, Templar74 here with another Yu-Gi-Oh video, and today's Yu-Gi-Oh video is going to be an episode impression regarding this week's episode of Yu-Gi-Oh VRAINS, episode 8. Now, I gotta be honest with you guys, episode 7, 2 weeks ago when it first came out, was honestly the first time since Duel Monsters that I was legitimately crying at the end of an episode. The episode was just that powerful with episode 7, and episode 8 is just carrying it on. Yu-Gi-Oh is really doing something right with Brains. I don't know what it is. They do have something that's coming up that's kind of concerning me a little bit more than a couple of other little quirks I have, but I'll talk about that later on in this video. But anyway, back to episode 8. The episode starts off, we see a flashback to the last bit of Blue Angel versus Playmaker, and we see after that montage is over, we see Blue Angel on the ground, and Ignis and Playmaker have come to her, and Ignis decides, I shall eat the Hanoi virus. And I don't care how often we're going to see this in Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns with Ignis. Whenever he does that, it still scares the heck out of me. Or it creeps the heck out of me, I guess I should say, rather. It doesn't really scare me. But anyway, it's still creepy nonetheless. He does eat the Hanoi virus, but for some reason, Aoi is not waking up. And so it's about this time that Solid Technologies security drones show up, and Ignis looks to Playmaker's like, hey, we got company. And Playmaker's like, I'm logging out. I'm out of here. And once he gets back to his school, he's starting a frantic search for Aoi because he knows that she's Blue Angel, and he knows that she's somewhere in school because she was at class today. And he's actually going through his whole reasoning thing tidbit, which I got to be honest was kind of cool. But anyway, he does end up finding Aoi on the roof of the school. She's unconscious, but her cell phone is going off, and that's because her brother Akira actually saw what happened to Blue Angel, and he ran out of the room on his phone begging Aoi to pick up, but she doesn't pick up the phone. And in fact, rather, we don't see it on screen, but it was actually Yusak that picked up the phone and told Akira what was going on. And we actually hear that when they arrive at the hospital, because Aoi is just coming out of the operating room and they're running her to the exam room when Akira gets there, and he's trying to get to Aoi, and the nurse pulls him away and said, no, you can't go in there, we're getting ready to take her into the exam room. And it's this time when Aoi is taken into the exam room that Akira faces Yusak for the first time. Now, of course, Akira has no idea that Yusak is Playmaker at this point. No idea whatsoever. And just the fact that he doesn't know, he actually has a decent conversation with Yusak, which differs quite different from the conversation he'll have with Playmaker later on in the episode. But anyway, he even goes so far, and Yu-Gi-Oh brings up the shipping moment again. Even Akira kind of looks to Yusak and say, you're the one that called me on the phone, right? And Yusak's like, yes. And Akira's like, I know I shouldn't ask this, but are you an Aoi and Playmaker? Or Yusak just tells him, we're just classmates, that's it. And Akira basically tells Yusak, okay, thank you, go home, everything's fine. And before he leaves, though, he does demand that Yusak tell him his name, and that's when he introduces himself to Akira. And we see Yusak go home, as Akira said, but at the same time, he's questioning Ignis, like, how did that happen? Why did that happen? Why isn't she waking up? And even Ignis is like, I don't know the answer. I wish I had an answer for you, but I don't know. And we also see this come through again, only a surprise, Ignis is deceiving everybody because he does have some idea, and he says that to everybody later. But that point aside, we see Akira, he's back at Solid Technologies headquarters, and Bishop is pissed. He said, we know your sister is Blue Angel. Why didn't you tell us? Or, and he's like, well, that's beside the point. The point is she had a Hanoi card, and if she was aligned with Hanoi, she betrayed our company, you betrayed our company, and your value to us is in question. And that's when Akira tries to say, I think Playmaker tricked her, and tricked me, and tricked you. But Bishop ain't buying it. Bishop is just saying, well, your sister's unconscious. There's no way to verify that. We're not taking your claim at face value. And he basically said, be prepared to be fired, as we discuss this more. And that's when Akira realizes that pretty much everything he's done to this point is over. And he actually does have another meeting with Emma. And Emma basically said, "You called me. You must be desperate." And she actually goes on to say, "How did Bishop find out that your sister was Blue Angel? How did they find out that she had a Knight of Hanoi card? How did they?" And that's when Akira says to her flat out, he's like, "I know you're working for somebody else." And she's like, "Oh, I'm working for somebody else, but you're still calling me. You must be desperate." And Akira basically said, "I know my time at Solid Technology is over. I know I'm fired. I know I'm cooked. All I care about now is saving Aoi because she's not waking up." And Emma basically agrees to help him. But while all this is going on, we go back to Yusak and Sochi, and they're talking about basically what's happened to Aoi. And it's then that Sochi reveals that he hacked into the hospital records, which, as a medical professional, I got to say that is highly illegal. So I never recommend that to anybody. Highly illegal. And even Ignis is like, "That's a crime." And Sochi's like, "Yes, but hacking in itself is a crime." And it's that time that Ignis says that he believes what happened was that the Knights of Hanoi have a virus, a computer virus that can control the mind and basically, do what they're doing to Blue Angel. And Yusak is saying, "Don't be ridiculous. That technology doesn't exist." But come to realize, and they think about it a bit more, they do realize that it is very possible. And if the Knights of Hanoi have it, the only way that Aoi is going to wake up is if they get the removal program for that virus from the Knights of Hanoi. That's the only way they're going to wake up Aoi. And Yusak decides, we got to get that removal program. But it's about that time that we see Blue Angel reappear in Brains, or what we believe is Blue Angel, and what everybody believes is Blue Angel. But, Yusak and Sochi, they're sitting there, they're like, "She's a fake," because they see Aoi is still unconscious in her hospital bed, and yet Blue Angel is right here saying to Playmaker, "I'm going to make you pay for what you did to me." And so Yusak decides, "Okay, I'm going." And everybody's trying to warn him not to go, it's a trap. And even Yusak is like, "I know it's a trap, but I feel responsible for what happened to Aoi, and only I can fix this." And he goes on to reason that if it is the Knights of Hanoi, he can challenge them to get the removal program. If it's Solid Technology that's behind this trap, he can explain what happened to Aoi or Blue Angel. And Sochi's just like, "You're crazy. They're not going to listen to you. They're not going to listen to you. Neither of these people are the types that are going to easily listen to what you have to say." And Yusak still decides, "I'm going anyway." And so he goes into Brains knowing good and well that it's a trap. And he looks at Blue Angel and he's like, "Who are you?" Because he knows that she's not Blue Angel. And it is, in fact, Emma, or AKA Ghost Girl, which we find out a little bit later. But Ghost Girl, or Emma, created a capture program that basically trapped Yusak, using Brains as the entire trap. And even Ignis is like, "That's going too far." And they drag him down into the ground there. And we get this kind of weird, eerie setting because we're like in a funeral chapel. And we see like this big open, it kind of looks like a casket actually. And we see Blue Angel laying there. And Akira is there. And basically he hired Emma to make this trap because he's going to basically squeeze the answers out of Playmaker. But Playmaker does tell him the truth straight up. He's like, "This is the Knights of Hanoi. I'm not your enemy here. She had that card before the duel." And Akira is just not hearing any of this, and he just starts using the trap to squeeze Playmaker. And Ignis is like, "Hey, I'm against violence. Don't do this." And Akira is like, "Ignis, you will be captured by my company." And with Playmaker trapped, we see this going on for just a few minutes, and it's that time that a bolt of lightning shoots into this weird temple mausoleum kind of thing. And out of that lightning comes Revolver, the head of the Knights of Hanoi. Now, the only people that know that he's the main person of the Knights of Hanoi at this moment is Playmaker and Ignis. Akira doesn't know who he is. Emma doesn't know who he is, although she does. I think she does work for the Knights of Hanoi. She just doesn't know who Revolver is. And Revolver turns around to Akira and demands that he release his Playmaker. And Akira says that's not going to happen. And Revolver is basically saying, maybe you didn't understand me. I'm going to battle Playmaker. He's mine. You're going to release him. And Akira again says, that's not going to happen. I don't care who you are. And that's when Revolver says, you underestimate my power. And as a sign to show that he is more powerful, he calls forth a data storm, and he can actually control the data storm, and he lets it go on Vrains. And he basically says, either you release Playmaker, or Vrains will be destroyed, Akira. Your sister's future is up to you. And it's at that moment that he explains that the Knights of Hanoi do have her under this brain control computer virus that Ignis was alluding to, and that the only way to wake her up was going to be to use the removal program, which he will only give to Akira if Playmaker defeats him. And Akira asks, why did you do this to Aoi? And that's when Revolver said, now anybody would have simply done, as long as it had brought out Playmaker's sense of justice and nobility to bring him here. So any person would do. However, we used your sister as hostage because she was Blue Angel. Somebody that famous, and basically he's like, it was a way to get to you. And Akira is furious, but now realizing that this may be the only way to save Aoi is to trust Playmaker, he lets him go. And that's when Revolver turns to Playmaker and says, I'll be seeing you, and takes off. And Akira comes up to Playmaker and said, can I trust you to save Aoi? You know, please save Aoi. I know that I've done some horrible things to you, and you must hate me. And that's when Playmaker said, I don't hate you. I only hate the Knights of Hanoi. And he takes off, and that's pretty much the episode. So again, another very powerful, emotional episode of Vrains, and I'm really impressed so far. Like I said, Vrains, this is arguably the best Yu-Gi-Oh franchise we've had in a generation. But as I alluded to before, there is one thing that scares me, and I do want to talk about this real quick. We have just found out now through cast and episode summaries that have just been released, the Playmaker versus Revolver duel, which will be starting here next week, is going to be 5 episodes long. So a 5-episode duel. I do have some quirks with that. I mean, they could either do this really, really well, or they could do it really, really badly. In fact, people are saying, oh, well, it's already the end of Vrains, because they were expecting the big Yu-Sok and Revolver duel to be the last thing, the very last thing. But I think what's going to end up happening here is Playmaker is going to battle Revolver, and then something is going to happen that's basically going to defeat Revolver the first time, but he's going to keep coming back. I'm kind of getting Kaiba vibes with Revolver on this front. You know, the whole, you defeated me the first time, but you're not going to defeat me again, and that's going to be what we're going to see throughout the entire Yu-Gi-Oh Vrains. I do kind of get that sense that that's where they're going with Revolver. He's going to be like the Kaiba of Vrains. But at the same time, I just don't know. And like I said, 5-episode long duel, that's really scaring me. The jury is still out as far as I know, that whether it's going to be a speed duel or a master duel. If it's going to be 5 episodes long, I would have preferred it to be a master duel. If it's not, I'm going to be even more worried about it. But either way, Yu-Sok or Playmaker versus Revolver is coming up next. Super hyped for it. And again, this episode, another great episode of Vrains. But in the comments down below, let me know what you guys thought of this week's episode. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What are your thoughts about Aoi being under this brain control virus? What are your thoughts on the whole Playmaker, Blue Angel, or Yu-Sok Aoi shipping thing that even Akira alluded to? What are your thoughts and predictions for the upcoming Revolver duel? What do you think is going to be the future of Revolver? What are your thoughts on all this? Just let me know what your guys' thoughts and comments and opinions are in the comment section down below, because as always, I enjoy hearing from you. All right, everybody, as always, Templar74 signing off. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye, everybody.